Okay. So if you go to the Canvas page, you will see the new assignment, and you need to download this little link, this USITT guidelines. In fact, you should do that right now so that you can open this file and follow along with me. So this USITT guidelines.dwg, go ahead and get that. When you open it up, it should look like this. And this is the CAD source file for those USITT guidelines. Everybody find it? Yep. USITT guidelines.dwg is what you want. Not the PDF. You want the actual DWG. So you go to modules and drawing aids and do system diagram outline assignment. And then you'll see what the assignment is today. And if you scroll down after the diagram, here's the DWG file. Just a link to it. Download that. Okay, so what we're going to talk about today are what are called drawing aids. And these are, little tools or commands in AutoCAD that help you draw things more easily than what we did last week. Because last week was not difficult, but it was cumbersome. And there were, a few kind of things that were very difficult to draw correctly within the limitation. It's not impossible to draw them correctly, but for example, the triangles were difficult. Which, by the way, just for fun here, let me show you really quick a really fun command that you might have found useful last week had I allowed you to use it. So type polygon, or POL, and you get this prompt that says enter the number of sides. Type 3, enter. Specify the center of the polygon. So you click, and then you want it inscribed or circumscribed about a circle. Just inscribed is fine. And then you can drag and move around and get your triangle whatever size you want and whatever direction you want it to point. And it automatically is equilateral no matter how big you make it. Cool, right?
Wow.
That would have been handy, wouldn't it? All right, so for future reference, although you're not allowed to use that command this week either.
Stop taking these away from us.
Yeah, why are you taunting us, too? Don't even show it.
All right. So we're going to talk through some of these drawing aids. The first one I want to show you is copy. Okay? Copy is going to be your friend on this particular assignment. So, for example, here is a standard device block. And if I want to copy that, sort of take it and copy it, move it, put it somewhere else in the drawing, you can just type copy. And it's going to say select objects. So go ahead and select all the parts of this that you want to copy, which is that. And once you've got them all selected, hit Enter again, or spacebar. And it says specify base point. And the base point is the point where you were going to start copying from. It's because you ultimately have to, when you copy an object, you have to move it a certain amount or a certain distance. And you have to say, in order to define that distance, you have to define the starting distance. That distance could be somewhere inside the bit that you're copying, or it could be somewhere else. It doesn't really matter. You can click anywhere in the drawing, and then you can move it. So just for fun, just go ahead and click anywhere on that symbol. And then it says specify the second point. So you can kind of scroll out, zoom out here, pan down below, and click again. And you can keep making them. You just keep click, 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 as many of these as you want. And then once you're done, once you have all of them, just hit Enter or spacebar, and it'll get out of that command, okay? But I want to show you something else, too, that can really help you when copying objects. So I'm gonna get rid of those extra ones, and we're going to turn on a drawing aid. The one you want to turn on is this one called Object Snap, which is down here. So turn that on, and go ahead and right-click on it, and you'll see this little menu that pops up. What this does is it's going to allow your mouse to kind of grab on to different elements of the things that you draw. So definitely turn on endpoint. I would also turn on midpoint, because midpoint, I find that very useful. Center, intersection, and extension. I would also turn on quadrant. Those are all useful. Okay, so now let's take a look at what happens. So let's do our copy command again. So copy. I'll select this block, enter. Specify base point. So now if I hover over my drawing, it'll snap. You see it gives that little square over an endpoint. Allows you to snap exactly to the edge of that thing. So that becomes your base point. And then you can go straight down from there and space it the way you want, and then hit stop. Now hit exit. Now here is the really cool thing. Remember how I said that it doesn't matter where you do your base point. You can do it anywhere you want when copying. So let me show you what I want to do. Let's say I want to make a big, long array of these things. So I've got two of them now that are spaced out really well in a way that I like. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say copy again. This time I'm going to select the second one. And when it says base point, the base point is going to be the top corner of the first one. Okay? And if I snap to that, and then my second point, I snap to the top corner of the second one, now my third one is spaced exactly the same way apart as those first two. And then I can keep going. I can snap now to the new one I just made and keep on going. And now these are all perfectly spaced apart. You see that?
That's like 5.
Super helpful, okay? Is that working for everybody? You need help? So let me take a look here. So cancel out, escape, escape, escape. So copy.
How did that even happen? Oh my god.
Now select the thing you want to copy. You got to select all of it, though. No, 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 don't drag. That's not how I taught you how to select. How did I teach you how to select?
I don't know.
All right.
Trying to figure out how to
Try again. Escape, escape, escape.
Okay.
Copy.
Mine's,
So zoom in now and click to the outside of the top left of that whole symbol. Wait, no, over to the left more. Left, 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 left. Stop. Click. And you're not holding, right? No, let go of the button. Okay, now drag over to the right. All the way over. Okay, you may need to pan a little bit. And now go down until you get the whole thing in there. There you go. Now click again. Now you got them all. So now hit enter. Now it says base point. So specify a base point. Just click anywhere inside that symbol. Or the snap to the node or whatever. And now you can take and move it down somewhere else in the drawing that you want it. So zoom out and you can go place it somewhere. Keep going. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Yeah, there you go. See? Now you can have as many of those as you want. Once you're done copying, just hit escape or enter and you'll be done. Anyone else need help with that?
How do you do the snapping? It's not like
Did you turn on object snaps?
I did.
Okay, so
Yeah, at least I think so.
all right, escape out of that and try again. So do copy now. Select all. Enter. And now try to hover over that top left corner of that symbol. There you go. You see?
Oh.
So you can only do it whenever you're in copy?
No, I mean there's other commands you can use that for, but you can use it when you draw too. But it just allows your cursor to kind of snap to endpoints and stuff. Okay, everybody else okay? Everyone got that? Got that far?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the next thing I want you to copy. Go and get this, this symbol here, this AV panel. Let's copy that. Select that whole thing. And then bring it down somewhere else in your drawing here. So this would be an example of an input panel where you'd be patching things into it. But what if you needed an output panel? Well, all you really have to do is reverse these connections. Best way to do that is using a command called mirror. Okay, so type MI for mirror and hit enter. So MI, enter. It says select objects. Select all this stuff that's inside the box. You see what I did? So I'm not selecting the box itself. I'm just selecting all the things in the box. See that? So once you got them all selected, hit enter. And it's going to say specify the first point of the mirror line. And what you want to do is use your object snaps to snap to this midpoint of this bottom line here. You see that? So once you're snapped to that, click. And then it says specify the second point of the mirror line. And go ahead and pick the top midpoint of the box all the way up here.
Okay, so I'm not getting second point, I'm getting first point and then erase source objects.
You did. You must have clicked twice. Yes. So once you click for second point, then it's going to say, okay, do you want to erase the source objects? Yes or no? Sometimes the answer will be yes, sometimes the answer will be no. In this case, yes. So I'm just going to type Y, enter, and look at that. I've now created an output panel.
You are correct.
Yep. So I just took all those things and essentially flipped them around, mirrored them on that center line of that box, and just completely flipped that whole symbol around. Okay? Is everyone able to do that? Anyone having trouble with that? No?
I didn't erase the source.
Yeah, you want to make sure you do, in this case, yes for erase. Okay. Yeah, it's smart enough to flip the location of the text and flip the text around. Okay. How we doing?
I love CAD. I've got a thing going with CAD, but it's not
All right. So now what we want to do is I want to show you object snap tracking. Okay. So what object snap tracking does is it allows you, instead of just snapping to a little endpoint and actually dropping something at that point, you can actually use that point as a reference to position something else. So let me show you what that means. Let's turn it on first. So turn on object snap tracking, which is this little one down here at the bottom, little angle thing with a dot on it. So turn that on. Right-click on it, and make sure you still have all those 6 things selected. Okay. So here's what I want to do. Remember how I said you want to make sure when you're doing these drawings that you're lining all the symbols up vertically, that, that all go in a row? Well, you can use object snap tracking to help you do that. So I want to take this panel that I did, and I want to position it next to this first device block, but I want to line up the tops of them. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a command called move. So that would be M, enter, and it says select objects. So I'm going to select this whole panel and then hit enter. Then I'm going to specify the base point, and I want the base point to be this top left corner of the box. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and now I can start moving this thing around. And watch this carefully. So, everybody watching? You watching my screen? If you're not watching my screen, this isn't going to make sense. If you blink, you'll miss it. Okay? So, now that I've got this thing, I'm going to hover over the top right corner of this symbol and see how the object snap goes up? And now, once it's hovered there, I'm not going to click. I'm just going to start dragging out. And you see how that dotted line shows up? That tells me that I'm still lined up with that reference point. So I go as far as I want to go, and then I hit click. And that's object snap tracking. So I tracked the position of the thing I was moving referenced to a different object. Okay?
Okay, this isn't at all what you're teaching right now, but I have a question about the cable dimension.
Okay.
Why does it have the loopy thing?
For what?
The cable dimension thing has the loop?
That's if you care about distance.
Ah, gotcha.
So, because you can label, the length of the cable if you want,
Right.
and that just indicates that.
That's where distance is labeled.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's,
cool.
I've never ever used that because I find it not helpful. But
With the AP panel,
yeah,
you said we were flipping it from an input panel to an output panel.
right.
But one of those things, like the loudspeaker, would usually be, well, either or depending on how you're using it on
Right.
the panel. But like the mic mold, usually an input when you're referring to it as mic mold.
Yeah, so you would change that label.
So it would be on the other side because input's from the left, right? Like as that panel.
What I mean is, these would represent inputs into your system, right? So you would be patching things into that. But you could also have a panel that's coming out of your system that you're going to patch monitors into or something like that. And in that case, these connectors would be flipped around the other way.
Okay, so with panels, it's not inputs coming on the left side of the panel block.
Right.
It's inputs coming on the right side, and then you have another panel where they come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll make more sense when you actually do the drawing, but okay, there's another feature of object snap that I want to show you. So I want to make a copy of my panel here, but I want to line it up. I want this top corner of it to line up with the left side of the existing panel and the top corner of this third block that I have. So let me show you. No, I'm going to copy. I'll select everything. Now watch carefully. Watch, watch, watch. I'm going to click at this top corner as my base point. And then I'm going to go down here and see how I'm object snap tracking from, if I hover over that, I snap from there, but I also can track from the top of that one. And if I hover over both of those, bam! See how it locks in there? Now I know that if I click, it will be perfectly lined up. That's lined up there. That's lined up there. So you can object snap track on both axes. Okay? Which is super, super helpful. And will be super, super helpful for the project that I'm going to give you. Okay, so another thing I want to show you is a command called extend. So let me, how can I do this? I know what I'll do. So I'm going to go get a microphone. I'll just get this one that comes off of the wireless transmitter because it doesn't have the weird loopy thing. So I'm going to say copy, and I'll select just the mic. See how I'm doing that? I'm just getting the microphone and not any part of the box. And then I'll hit enter, and my base point should be the end of the little wire. And now I'm going to take it over here, and I'm going to bring it down here to my first device block. Now here's the important part. I need to object snap track off of this first input. So watch my screen. I'm going to hover over that input point and then track to the left of that until it's where I want it to be. And now I know that, that this cable coming off the microphone is perfectly lined up with the cable representing the input. Okay? Now, I want to connect those two lines together. Let me show you how to do that. You're going to use the command extend. So type extend, enter, select objects. The object you're selecting at this point is the place in the drawing where you want the microphone line to extend to. So that would be the edge of this equipment device block. So look where I'm clicking. I'm going to click here on that edge. So now I've got that selected. I hit enter, and now it says extend, click the thing you want to extend. I want to extend this line. So I hover over that line. You'll see it. We'll do a little shadow extend. You click on it, and boom, it jumps it right over to that spot that I defined as my extension point. So everybody try that. See if you can do something like that. Take a line and extend it to some other line. Yeah, don't do 3D.
No, he just accidentally got extrude when we were talking.
No, don't do extrude. You want extend.
Okay, wait, it's extend.
Extend.
And then he wants to.
So yeah, so to extend, let me go back and do that again. So here's the whole thing again. Everybody watch. Extend, enter. Select objects. You want to select the place that you're extending to. Okay? So I'm going to select the side wall of this equipment block, click. And you can do more than one place, but I don't need to right now, so I'm going to hit enter. And now it says extend. So which thing do you want to extend? And I click on the little microphone wire, and boom, it bumps over there.
Okay, so what are the things that it has for autocomplete, like fence, crossing, project, edge?
I have never used those.
Great.
So
I won't either.
I don't know. Okay. I think I have one more command I need to show you, which is trim. So let's say that I have these two AV panels, and for whatever reason, I'm using two symbols to represent the same panels. These are both the same panel. And I'm just going to put different, I'll fill these numbers in to represent different numbers on the panel, because the panel has more connectors than I'm showing in my diagram. And I'm just going to show the panel more than once in my drawing. In order to make it clear that it's the same panel, I would need that little break line at the bottom, right, of it. So let me go and steal a break line. So if I go up here, here's one, right? So I'm going to say copy, and I'm going to select just that little break symbol. You see how I did that? Hit enter, and I want my baseline. This is super important. So watch where I'm going to snap from, because this is going to either make or break you. You want to snap to the midpoint of the vertical line there. See that? Now I'll pull it in and bring it down to my panel, my first panel, and I'm going to snap to the midpoint of that bottom spot. And then I'll do the same thing on the second one. Okay, so now I've got my break lines there. However, there's a problem in that the line is still continuing through, right? Because it was already there. So this is where trim comes in handy. So I need to trim out this little piece of the line and this little piece of the line. So watch, I'm going to type trim and select objects. You're selecting the lines that will be the trim points. So this is essentially where you are going to put your scissors. Okay? So I'm going to put scissors on this diagonal line and this diagonal line. See that? And then I hit enter, and now it says, what do you want to trim? I want to trim that line. And you hover over it, it'll kind of do a little shadow so you can preview what's going to happen. If you click, bam, that little thing goes away. It's like you cut it at those points where you put those diagonal lines. So once again, I'll do the same thing down here at the bottom. I'll type trim. I'll select those two diagonal lines, enter, and then click the line in the middle, and it trims it out. Okay? Questions about that? Okay. You now know everything you need to know for the assignment. So let me explain the assignment now. So you are going to draw this. Okay? So I'm going to right-click on this image and download it. And that way you can open it in preview and you can kind of see it and zoom in. So I'll open it up. If you kind of zoom in on this thing, you'll see that I'm just using the standard device symbols, right? I haven't labeled anything. I haven't put numbers on anything. It's just an outline of a system diagram that's missing all of the annotations that have it make sense. I personally drew this entire thing on Monday, and I never drew a single line. Okay, I created this entire diagram by just copying objects out of that spec document that you have open right now. Okay, so that's the rule. Let me read through this. If you look at the top, say you want to draft this attached outline of a system diagram. The goal of the assignment is I want you to learn these drawing aids. Okay, so I don't want you to draw any of these objects yourself. So whereas last week I was having you actually draw these symbols, I don't want you to draw a single symbol this time. Okay? I want you to use the symbols that are already drawn in that file I sent you and use those symbols to create the diagram picture. And I just want, don't worry about any of that text. Just leave it as is. Just create the diagram, and then later we can go in. I'll teach you how to edit all that text, okay? These are the commands that you should be able to do the whole thing using these 5 commands. Copy, move, trim, extend, mirror. And you can also turn on object snap and object snap tracking. So with those 2 features and those 5 commands, you should be able to create that whole drawing without ever drawing a single line yourself. So you can't use line, you can't use rectangle, you can't use circle, none of those actual tools where you would draw a line. You can't use any of those. You have to just create this whole drawing using copy, move, trim, extend, mirror. Okay? And then upload that file. So here it is. That's the drawing. And I want you to make that whole thing, just exactly like that. Yes, Grayson.
Woo! Alright, so yeah, we're supposed to make this whole thing. We're supposed to not draw any lines. So assuming that we're starting on the new document page, what do you want to call this?
Yeah, so you're going to start with the file I had you download just now that has, just start with that and draw that diagram down below by copying symbols out of that source, right? So if you need a line that doesn't exist, you're not allowed to draw it. You have to go get that line from some symbol up there in that document and pull it down. And you can modify it once you have it. Like you can extend it to make it longer. You can trim it to make it shorter. But you can't draw a single line. You can't even draw a line to use as a trim. So you have to be able to draw this whole thing without ever drawing a line. Okay? Yes?
We're allowed to explode blocks, right? Or do you just
No.
use the one? There's like the thing of all the symbols, and then there's like the symbols that are in the individual sheets.
Not if you downloaded the file I told you to download.
I just have to.
Yeah, download the file I said to download. And then you won't have that problem.
Crazy how that works.
Okay? So you have now an hour and a half to get started on this thing. I will be very surprised if any of you finish it in an hour and a half. But
This is a direct challenge. No, I'm too weak for that.
it took me about 2.5 hours to do it. And I'm really fast. So
Well, you know there's
any questions before you begin? No? All right. So get to work.